had 13% organic matter in the soil. Organic matter is the good black stuff. It's what holds water. It's what creates food for us. 13%. That led America less than 100 years ago. Today, the organic matter in Illinois' soil, the topsoil, the nourishment for our planet, is down to 1.3% and still leading America. That's a 10-fold decrease at the same time that many diseases, such as inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, autism spectrum disorders, they have increased 10-fold, while our topsoil has decreased the same percentage. See a tie-in here? I believe as we go, the planet goes. I believe we came from the dust of the earth, and to that dust we will return. So if that's the case, would it be possible that we can experience a simultaneous regeneration along with the planet that we have the responsibility to be stewards over? I've experienced some amazing transformations in my life, starting with a personal regeneration. 21 years ago, I looked like that guy. I was deathly ill with multiple incurable illnesses, including Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue syndrome, diabetes, parasites, yeast infections, kidney, liver, and heart problems. I was dying. I was in a wheelchair, and I was nearly 100 pounds at a height of 6 feet tall. I tried everything. Conventional medicine failed. Natural cures failed. Read hundreds of books trying to get well. Visited the best of the best. But it wasn't until I met a man who taught me how to eat like the Bible, as history taught us. And in just 40 days, that diet that I would later write about in my book, The Maker's Diet, along with a powerful substance that's missing from the soil that supercharged my gut, I was able to experience personal regeneration. Not only, glory to God, not only did I get well, but I began to become passionate and get on mission to see the health of this nation and world transformed one life at a time. And since that photograph and today, I have been to 46 states, 5 continents, and shared in almost every media outlet known to man, singing from the rooftops that if you are suffering, your tomorrow can be better than today if you will make the necessary steps to see that happen. I entered this natural health movement starting a great company called Garden of Life, which is one of the sponsors. And over the last nearly 20 years, we have seen amazing success thanks to you. I've written 25 books. The 25th you probably have already received free in the lobby. If not, you're going to get a chance to. And I believe today more than ever that there are simple strategies to help you regenerate your body. But I've also seen family regeneration. What you see there is Mother's Day last year. My beautiful wife, Nikki, and my now 6 children. I would tell you that all 6 come from different fathers, but that makes my wife look really bad. Without this caveat, 5 of our 6 wonderful kids are either adopted or in the process of being adopted. So when I was here last time, 5 years ago, I had 1 child. But today, 6. And what I have learned as I look in the eyes of these children, Andrew, Emma, Samuel, Alexis, and Isabella, who all came from different parents, a broken ancestry with disease, with death, with crime, and certain degeneration, until we had the privilege of bringing them into our home and seeing that turnaround. Each and every decision that we help them make. So from ages 3 to 18, I have 6 good reasons to start the revolution of regeneration and to humbly ask you to join me. I've also seen ecological regeneration. on our Heal the Planet farm, I am pictured last year holding a cob of Andean purple corn. And that Andean purple corn is a superfood. But what you don't see in that photo is the soil beneath my boots came from my family's organic food waste a year before. Could you imagine taking trash and turning it into treasure? Can you imagine taking a mess and making him a messenger? Can you imagine going from tragedy to triumph? Well, I hope you can, because that's exactly the journey we're all going to begin as soon as you walk out those doors. You came here for a reason, and you're going to leave with powerful tools to begin this revolution, one decision at a time. I have a brand new book. It's the sequel to my first book, Patient Heal Thyself, which was one man's journey from sickness to health. Now, Planet Heal Thyself is the revolution of regeneration in body, mind, and planet. Because it's not just about that one teenager. It's not about one person's recovery. It's about all of us. It's the bond we share. It's the obligation that we have. And it's our only hope. So today, I'm going to share with you 10 strategies to transform your body, mind, and planet. And they are going to be duh moments, and there will be aha moments. But let's get started. Eat real food. Of course, eat real food. What else is there to eat? Well, you heard Terry. 6 pounds to 250 pounds of sugar. Mentioning hydrogenated oils, too many omega-6s, high fructose corn syrup. And that's just the beginning. Most of what Americans eat would not be considered food 50 or 100 years ago. But here's what you do. It's pretty simple. You eat what your ancestors ate. Now, not maybe your ancestors or your ancestors, but our collective ancestors. It's a good test to look at your plate and say, would my grandmother have eaten this? Would my great-grandmother? Some of you, would your parents eat this? We are consuming things that are separated from their whole. Case in point, you go to the store and buy whole milk. Whole milk, right? It's whole. What is the first ingredient? Part skim milk. It is difficult to read labels today. Whole milk, but then part skim. Well, that's allowable according to 315.Q in the Dairy Farmers of Yugoslavia regulations that have been adopted by America in the last few years. Folks, real food is something you can eat today or drink and has been consumed for thousands of years. Pretty simple. Avoid processed foods. You've heard this. We think fast food, right? Certainly that's not good. But there are plenty of foods we consume that are processed, that are purified, that are isolated, taken out of their natural form. We need to avoid those. That's strategy number one. And by doing so, you will aid the planet because you are encouraging the creation of real food. What you buy is what they make. Understand that. It's going to be a theme tonight. What you buy is what they make. Follow the money because they do. Second strategy to transform your body, mind, and planet is to live organic. Now, I want to tell you, organic doesn't necessarily mean healthy. Organic standards are a great foundation. You can't grow or raise foods with the use of chemicals and call the food organic. But organic doesn't always mean healthy. Case in point, if you eat 2 black cookies with white cream in the middle and it's marked organic, some people would rather consume 2 organic black cookies with white organic cream in the middle than eat conventional broccoli. I meet people and I say, how do you eat? Oh, I eat organic. They think that means healthy. Now, I will say 2 black cookies with white cream in the middle that is certified organic are better than 2 black cookies with white cream in the middle that is not organic. Organic's a standard, but why do we eat organic and why should we? Pretty simple. Pretty simple. More nutrition and less toxins. That's very important in each and every one of our lives. So when we choose to buy organic, more nutrition, less toxins for you and the planet. Why? because last year more American organic farms lost their certification than those that applied and successfully gained it. That means we are literally losing ground, and we're losing ground to them. And them don't care as much about your health as you'd like them to. So live organic for you and for the planet. Number 3, say no to GMO. GMO, according to my good friend Jeffrey Smith, should mean God move over. And guess what? When man decides to play God, he often ends up playing the other guy. And that is what happened here, right? Genetically modified organisms are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. We don't know when we get them in our diet unless we understand how to read labels and know our foods. Now, not every crop is genetically modified. I kind of laugh when I see water that is non-GMO. Because there are no proteins that could have been spliced. Who knows? Maybe they're working on it. We need to understand the crops. And the two that are most likely to be consumed, with or without you knowing, are corn and soy. Corn and soy are everywhere. If you consume corn or soy, not specifically labeled organic or non-GMO, you need to assume that it is GMO. That means when you go to your favorite Mexican restaurant and they give you tortilla chips, you basically need to say, "Que pasa?" We need to understand that most corn and soy, 90+%, is genetically modified, but also all of the derivatives. Citric acid, ascorbic acid, even many vitamin C's are made from corn. And then soy, natural flavors, and a number of other compounds. There are dozens. But there are also crops that are typically genetically modified outside of corn and soy. Sugar beets are one, so we need to be careful when we consume sugar for a number of reasons. Certain squash, alfalfa now, wheat. We know that fish or salmon is approved now and chickens will be. Potatoes are in phase 3. The list goes on and on. Know your foods, read your labels. But why should you avoid GM? Number 1, for you, because when you consume genetically modified organisms, you are ingesting something as an experiment that you didn't sign up for. We simply can't do that. You might say, well, Jordan, what do GMOs do to me? And I will answer you, I don't know. That's the worst answer I could give. If you said, what do GMOs do to me? And I would say, well, everyone who consumes GMOs for a period of 5 years has a 1.375% chance of increased multiple sclerosis risk. That's quantified. GM risk is unquantifiable at this point. It's absolutely horrid. And the original genetically modified crops were created so they could spray more pesticide on the food. Think about it. More GM means more pesticides and more chemicals in your body. That is absolutely unacceptable. You need to vote with your dollars here, folks. You can sign petitions. You can look at various people running for office and vote with them. But the bottom line is, until you stop consuming GM foods, until you opt out of the system of degeneration, they will keep making them. But when you stop buying them, they will stop making them. You need to be fastidious about this. You need to be the nudge when you go out to eat.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what oil do they cook this in? Well, it's actually cooked in vegetable oil. Can you be more specific? Is it corn oil? Is it non-GMO? No, it's butter. Well, what did the cows eat? Oh, they evolved. Right? We can talk Yiddish down here, can't we? It's so funny how we adults muddy the waters. Well, I'm sort of avoiding GMOs, except I had to have that cheese on the airplane, and when I travel, you know, and I can't ask everybody, I don't want to embarrass myself, but plenty of us eat more genetically modified food than we agree. But our kids, man, they are black and white. I have a farm in Missouri that I'm going to talk about. And when we were there, we visited the St. Louis Zoo, which is a free zoo. Pretty awesome, a free zoo. We went there and we were riding on the tram and we were approaching the insectorium. And a loudspeaker attendant came on and said, now approaching the insectorium. brought to you by our friends at Monsanto.
Ah!
We're in St. Louis, right? So, of course, my 10-year-old son stands up and says, Monsanto, they're an evil company. See, they get it. Maybe we can learn from them. Say no to GMO. Number 4, go gluten-free. Wait a minute. I'm asking you to avoid something that's in a famous song we used to sing in grade school. Amber waves of grain. Pretty soon I'm going to say purple mountains are bad. I believe that the sticky protein in wheat, rye, and barley can cause problems. And I've been saying this for 20 years. Obviously, I suffered from digestive issues. I learned a lot about gluten. I spoke a lot about gluten. Now, frankly, gluten was ignored back then. Now, more than half of you think you're gluten sensitive. I believe there's a middle ground here, but folks, we consume too many gluten-containing grains in the wrong form, which causes challenges. If you have unexplained weight gain, behavioral issues, gut issues, immune compromised time periods, you could avoid these gluten-containing ingredients and see if you get improvement. But there's another way to handle this, because much like organic doesn't always mean healthy, either does gluten-free. See, you could eat a gluten-free bread and you look at the ingredients and they're not that great. They're not organic, they're not non-GMO, they're processed, sticky white rice flour, potato starch. I don't run to the aisles of Toonies looking for those ingredients, but we think gluten-free means healthy. It can mean healthy if you consume healthful gluten-free foods. However, if you're here saying, I'm not gluten intolerant, I'm not sure that I am, but I want to reduce my exposure, there's some ways to do it. You can even consume gluten-containing grains in a sprouted or sourdough form, fermented in other words, and you can actually do something very good for your health. I believe sprouted whole grain bread is healthier than gluten-free processed bread. However, some of you might choose to avoid bread altogether because it's not law that we consume it 3 times a day, just saying. Now you might say, well, Jordan, if we go gluten-free, how does that help the planet? Glad you asked, because when you eat gluten-containing foods and you have unexplained health problems, you take medications for those unexplained health problems. Thyroid medication. You might take heart medication, cholesterol medication, blood pressure medication. You might take digestive medications, and none of them work, but you still excrete the medicines because these don't break down and they go into our water and food supply. They end up in our animals that we consume, our vegetables, you name it. So everything we do for ourselves, we can benefit the planet as well. Number 5, embrace the power of plants. Who has not heard eat more vegetables, right? Everyone says to eat more vegetables. Can't go wrong with vegetables. Plants are powerful, and they're powerful for 2 reasons: phytonutrients and micronutrients. But I want to blow the lid off micronutrients just for a moment. I believe micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals, are important. Vitamin and mineral supplements have been used for about 80 years. Not our best 80 years, I would say, but it's 80 years. Plants contain micronutrients, but they also contain phytonutrients. And what are those? They're not vitamins A, B, C, and D. They are metabolites. These phytonutrients or metabolites, I believe, are the future of medicine. But they also protect plants from their invaders, rays of the sun, various weeds, certain predators, the EGCG found in green tea, the curcumin in turmeric, as Terry talked about, the anthocyanins in blueberries, the lycopene in watermelon, pink grapefruit, and tomato, the withanolides in ashwagandha. They are phytonutrients. They are metabolites. They protect plants, and when we eat plants, they protect us in a way that is far greater than any micronutrient could. You see, in America, no matter how sad our diet is, we get some vitamins and minerals. You can eat fast food 3 times a day, 7 days a week. You're still going to get some vitamins and minerals. Sodium's a mineral. But eating a fast food diet 3 by 7 won't give you phytonutrients, the colored pigments, the powerful compounds that traditional Chinese, Ayurvedic, North, South American, Eastern and Western European herbalists have recommended for thousands of years. When you go sit in front of an herbalist, they don't give you vitamins and minerals, they give you turmeric. They don't care if it's low in vitamin C. They give you ashwagandha. They never think about its B12 content because the phytonutrients or metabolites in plants help shift your body to homeostasis in an amazing way. You cannot vitamin and mineral your way to health, but you can get there through eating powerful foods, the power of plants. And the more plant foods we eat, the more plant foods they plant, the more diversity that's created, and the better the planet does. Very important. The sixth strategy to transform your body, mind, and planet is to eat sprouted foods. Sprouting means activation, germination, unleashing the power of nature. What do I mean by that? Check this out. A tiny seed, a mustard seed, a chia seed, lies out there in a field, lonely, trapped in its seed coat, could remain that way a really, really long time. They've sprouted seeds that are thousands of years old. As soon as a droplet of water, so much as 2 drops of water hit the seed, poof, nature is unleashed. You don't even have to do anything. Haven't you driven on a busy street that you've been over and over again, and all of a sudden you see a plant growing out of the street? It's like, how did that get there? You unleash the power of nature. And you can do this in your own health. Germination is what sprouting is. And it means activation. Creating something from a tiny little bit. I've had chia seeds on our farm that grow to plants over 6 feet tall. From a tiny little seed that you could barely hold in your hand. When you consume sprouted foods, maybe it's a handful of mung bean sprouts, maybe it's a sprouted flour or a sprouted bread, you are unleashing the power of nature in your body, consuming enzymes and highly digestible nutrients. Sprouted foods are becoming very popular today. When you shop for foods and supplements, look for sprouted, because sprouted foods can make a great difference in your health in all kinds of ways. Strategy number 7 to transform your body, mind, and planet. Eat more fermented foods. Focus on it. Fermented foods are absolutely amazing. I try to consume fermented foods with every meal and certainly every day, and I've been doing it for about 20 years. It's amazing. Even the taste of fermented foods works for your body. I used to say the power of sour kills your cravings for sweet. When we met our daughter Isabella, she was almost 2 years old. We took her to a health food store. Actually, I'm sorry, it was a grocery store. There was no health food store in the area. And when we were riding down the aisle, I noticed 2 things. She's real smart, and boy, I can tell exactly what she eats every day or what she had been eating. She immediately talked about cookies, cake. She mentioned chocolate, ice cream, chips, popcorn, and of course, the all-time health favorite of America, goldfish. I don't know why people think goldfish are healthy, but when my son, among many indiscretions in school, said, "Goldfish are yucky," that's what my dad says. Got a little talking to. Not to mention the fact that when he decided, since he was the only kid that brought his lunch to school, you know, nowadays they get to eat fast food at schools 3-4 times a week. He brings his lunch and it's all this healthy stuff. And he decided to turn the tables. He didn't want to be ostracized, so he went around, examined everyone's lunch and rated it. Not rated, rated. And we got called in the principal's office, and they said, "Your son has started a club. It's called the Healthy Foods Club. As of now, he's the only member. It's exclusive." And Susie's mom came to school saying that Joshua told Susie that if she eats these things, she's going to get sick and possibly die. Out of the mouth of babes. I had to hold down my laughter. I gave him a high five on the way out. So my 3-year-old daughter, well, she's 3 now, 2-year-old daughter eats junk food. I just inherited her, and it's hard to get an infant or a toddler to eat well, right? Because you just put something to them and they put it right back to you. Fast forward 6 months after steady prodding all the different angles and subjecting her to healthy things, we pull up to the aisle of a health food store right by the cooler. She spots some wilted cabbage and immediately with a fist pump says, "Sauerkraut! I love sauerkraut." It's working. What is fermentation? Fermentation does two amazing things. It accentuates the positive and eliminates the negative. It's amazing. I want to give you a couple examples. We've heard of gluten-free bread, but have we heard of gluten-free wheat bread? They have done experiments with fermentation, proper fermentation, and they have reduced the gluten in wheat from 80,000 parts per million down to 8 parts per million, which is underneath the USDA standards for gluten-free. That's amazing. Eliminating the negative. And cabbage, awesome. You put some salt in it, a little bit of water, maybe a little probiotic culture, seal it, time, room temperature, and voila, sauerkraut that has 4 times the nutritional and anti-carcinogenic benefits from the cabbage which it came. Fermentation is awesome. It accentuates the positive, makes the good better, eliminates the negative. I got to tell you, I've been trying to find a way to ferment other areas of my life, not just my food. Like, the bank account. Imagine eliminating debt and increasing your holdings, your net worth. Fermenting relationships, right? Wait a minute, honey, I didn't mean to save that. I'm going to ferment it. I've been trying to ferment my kids now for weeks, and it hasn't worked. Folks, think about it, though. Fermentation makes everything better. It unlocks the power of foods. It makes things safer to eat. It's been consumed for thousands of years. It will be consumed for thousands more, and you don't get enough. Look for fermented foods. Number 8, the 8th strategy to transform your body, mind, and planet is to eliminate allergens. This is really tough because allergens are everywhere, but I have good news. 8 foods, 8 common foods, are responsible for 90% of allergic reactions. That means theoretically, if you have constant nasal congestion, really bad headaches all the time, you're always lethargic, your gut or your skin or whatever doesn't work real well, you can eliminate these 8 foods and reduce allergic reactions by 90%. What are they? Tree nuts, peanuts, fish, shellfish, wheat, soy, eggs, dairy, and no clapping. Here's the deal. I was very sick, and in order to get well, I didn't have to eliminate those allergens. There's another way. If you are not certain you're allergic, you can consume the best versions of these foods. Think about it. Fish. Farm-raised fish, more allergenic. Why? Because of what they eat. They're not raised in their natural environment. Wild fish, less allergenic. Battery, CAFO, commercially raised eggs, allergenic. Free-range, pasture-based organic eggs, less organic. We look at soy. Soy is allergenic. Less allergenic, sorry. Soy is allergenic. Fermented soy, miso, natto, tempeh, less allergenic. Dairy, same thing. Dairy, allergenic. Fermented, less so. And you can consume goat or sheep dairy and make it even more healthful and less allergenic. Wheat, we talked about it, sprouted or fermented, makes the allergies go away. Peanuts, organic, is better because less mold toxins, less sensitivities to the mold which you mistake for a peanut allergy. Bada boom, bada bing. Organic or even more ancient type of peanuts they call jungle peanuts. They don't taste like planters, but they're still a good food. Tree nuts, that's an easy one. Soak them, which helps them germinate, which makes them more digestible. Very, very important. So if you eliminate allergens or consume better versions, less allergenic versions of the foods, you'll be better off. Number 9, artisanal eating. Doesn't that look beautiful? Those are tomatoes. But I bet if you ask a class of 6th graders, they wouldn't know. Why? Because to them a tomato is the same shape and the same color all the time. Why? Because it was hybridized and hybridized and hybridized to pick the best brown tomatoes. I love artisanal eating, and when you do it, when you consume locally produced foods, you are supporting the local economy, the environment, and your health, because there's usually less ingredients, and you can look face-to-face oftentimes with a producer and ask them what's in the food. You can even consume handmade products that are available nationwide, but still have the artisanal feel. Do you know back in the day, the cheesemaker was an artist? The winemaker, an artist. The bread maker. I went to France and met the most famous bread maker in Paris. He's a national treasure, and he was a baker. He's a food artisan. Today, everything is cookie cutter, packaged, processed the same. If you eat artisanally, if you eat slow, if you eat local, you will begin to rebuild so much more than just the economy, your health, and even the environment. Number 10, practice eco-regeneration. I fell in love a few years ago with composting. Now, I'm a kid of the suburbs. I grew up in Palm Beach Gardens, kind of zero lot line home. I don't have a green thumb, a green pinky, a green index finger, never planted anything, just learned about food, wrote about food, talked about food, loved farming, and one day I decided, you know what, I'm going to become a farmer. I'm going to become a farmer. And I started to learn about our topsoil and erosion and losing our very identity and our very heritage as an agrarian nation of farmers. And then I learned modern agriculture depletes the soil. Regenerative agriculture builds it back. Composting is a great way to do it. We all recycle, or at least we should. But if you will compost, and it's so easy, you will begin to rebuild soil and the planet 1 millimeter at a time. Folks, I right now currently live in Central California, where we have an indoor nutrient farm I'm going to talk about in a moment. And I've been living there for a period of time. Thought I was there 3 months. I've been there 14, not sure when I'm leaving. When I was on my farm in Missouri, I learned about composting. I had this idea. I'm going to put my family's food waste in a compost pile right near our chickens, and chickens will eat the waste, the food, garbage. Then they will drop their nutrient-rich litter on it, and then soon we have soil, then you plant things in it, and it's absolutely amazing. When I moved to California, I was miserable. See, in Missouri, I got so excited because I never had to tell my kids, eat everything on your plate. There are children starving in Africa. Now, it was the other way around. Wait, I'm not done with that. Oh, sorry, I put it in the compost pile. I would sit there and watch the chickens eat the onion peels and eat the banana peels and fight with each other and think, this is amazing. My trash is becoming treasure. So I move out to California, and I'm sick and tired, even after a short period of time, of throwing away this good food waste. And I decided to get a little compost bin for my countertop, and I filled it up. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to put 2 big garbage cans outside and make compost. I'm going to put the food waste in there, I'm going to shovel it every few days, and then my not-so-friendly neighbor, you always have the not-so-friendly neighbor to the left, he texted me and said, Jordan, I believe there's a family of skunks that lives between our 2 houses. So I'm walking out right where my compost pile is, and I said, oh, really? Have you seen the skunks? No. Okay, great. So then as soon as he walked away, I stuck my head in the compost pile to see, does it really smell that bad? It didn't. And then they caught the skunk a few days later. So I was safe. I was so upset. I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to let this fly. I've got an open garbage can with food waste. So here's what I learned. We started out, we have a family of 8. We have these big garbage cans, and we moved in there after a few weeks. I called the sanitation department. Can we get bigger garbage cans? Because my recycling bin is real full, and my garbage. So when I started composting, it went way down. So guess what? Here's how you know if you're healthy. If you have a compost pile, and you measure that versus your garbage and your recycling, and the compost is more, then I bet just that alone will tell how healthy your family is. We generate loads of compost. You know what? We don't even own the house. We're renting. But someone else is going to have very nice topsoil when we depart. Guess what? I'm leaving the place in better condition when I leave than when I came. And that's what we all have to do with the big backyard we call the planet. You also want to purchase with a purpose. You can buy products that use packaging that is eco-regenerative. I have found certain products that tell a story about their packaging. This cleaning solution, it said, we use X material, post-consumer recycled, and we save this much outgassing or carbon footprint. Now look, some people get kind of squirmy. This isn't about polar ice caps. I'm not going to talk about global warming, climate change. I've never even hugged a tree, although I love trees. This is about decisions we can make to leave our mark on the planet. And boy, we're leaving a mark. Oil's depleted. Water's depleted. I live in California right now, and that's a scarcity today, although I think it rained. I'm very glad about that. Folks, we can do it with simple solutions. In that book you got, Plan and Heal Thyself, when you came in, we teach you how to do this. These 10 strategies mirror the 10 chapters, and guess what? That book isn't even out yet. I mean, you have it. It's coming out April 22nd on Earth Day in bookstores. You get it 3 months earlier. So we didn't talk about we practice what we preach, or rather we preach only what we practice. I founded Heal the Planet Farm for 3 important reasons. Nestled in the Ozark Mountains of Missouri, we grow to maximize nature and create agricultural abundance through what is called permaculture. Permaculture is permanent agriculture, and permanent agriculture is what we teach, training the next generation of real-world farmers. Whether you've got 10 square feet of backyard, a deck on your high-rise, or 10,000 acres, we want to teach you either virtually or in person how to create that abundance, utilize our God-given resources, and make your life mean something beyond your time. And 3, we feed families in our local communities. What is permaculture? Permaculture is permanent agriculture. When I learned about this, I was just mesmerized. I knew it was the truth. I followed it. Permaculture, or permanent agriculture, refers to perennial plants. The kind that you plant and it fruits year after year, or every other year sometimes. Now, annual crops you plant like kale or broccoli. They're really good, but every time you pull them up, you plow, you lose topsoil. Permanent agriculture. Permaculture was the Garden of Eden. And permaculture's leading voice, Jeff Lawton, says that all of the world's problems can be solved in a garden. And I believe him. Think about it. Economics, health, even family. You just feel better consuming real food, gardening, getting outside. It's amazing. I also heard an amazing saying as well. You can count the number of seeds in an apple, but can you count the number of apples in a seed? And guess what they are trying to steal from us? Our seeds. I believe if we understood the big picture, we would change our behavior and we would support what we believe in to a much greater degree. Everything we are doing here today is based on my experience as a father of 6. Someone who restored my own life, or was blessed to have restoration and regeneration. Started a great company called Garden of Life that many of you have supported. And then I watched as Garden of Life grew up like a child leaving home. And I'm so proud. But now, over the last several years, I've had an opportunity to think about what's needed. And I decided to introduce something new, and I'm doing it right here. But first, let me tell you this. I forgot, this is really cool. I'm not any investment advisor like Les is. If you want to know investments that are traditional, talk to Les. I've never done well with traditional investments because my strategy of buying high and selling low has never worked. The results are in. It's a failure. But someone once asked me, Jordan, what are you investing in? And I got to tell you, there's 3 things. You might think that's a little strange. The millionaires of tomorrow will invest in bees, because without bees, we have no food. Have you seen the Bee movie, where Jerry Seinfeld played the bee and the attorney? It was great. They won a lawsuit against humans, including Ray Liotta, who was the worst of them all, because they were stealing their honey. The bees were working for honey. The humans were stealing it. Then the bees stopped working for honey. They became lazy. They didn't pollinate, and there was no food. These are our future. You know what else is part of that? Earthworms, red wigglers. The more earthworms you have, the more organic food waste they are living in. You will continually build something that is rapidly being depleted. And last but not least, you heard it here, you better get used to it, edible insects. We are not going to go from 6 billion people to 9 billion with what you can find on Old MacDonald's farm. This morning, my 3-year-old was singing Old MacDonald's Farm because my father-in-law named Donald turned 70, so now he's Old MacDonald. But instead of E-I-O, it was my, oh my, oh my. So it's pretty interesting. But mark my words, these are eco-investments. So that's the future. Today, I have invested my life into a new brand of products called Get Real Nutrition, and Toonies is one of the first to offer it. I want to share with you quickly what Get Real Nutrition is. Get Real Nutrition is based on 10 promises, and they're now familiar to you. Get Real Nutrition's 16 products are breaking new ground in an industry that desperately needs it. All of our formulations are real food, something you can eat or drink, something you can respect, understand, relate to, and even look up if you're not sure of the Latin spelling. Folks, real food.